We have got a few more people that are supposed to be coming, but we'll start anyway because we're running late. I've set an alarm for 45 minutes for a tea break or comfort break, as they say in the US. I'm going to sell some more raffle tickets there. So thanks for that. I did this evening actually have something else planned, but we've got quite a few guests. So today we will have a very informal business meeting, and we'll sort of try and concentrate on guests. So we have some rules. I'm quite unprofessional sometimes, but in order to be professional, we only talk through the chair. And I've got a little list here that I will hand out to people who forget that. And it just basically gives a bit more authority and rigidity to the occasion. So thank you for coming, everybody. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, especially the guests. The guests will be probably looking around the room and trying to suss out the members to determine whether or not they think they can join us or whether we're going to go anywhere or fall flat. I'm going to be doing that at other meetings. Welcome, Simon. So I will start probably, I have pages and pages of things, but I've sort of condensed it. So I'm going to start by saying what our agenda is, and what we're trying to do. Well, we're trying to throw out Starman, whatever you want to call him, Starling, and we're trying to get into power. That's the basic end of the story. In order to do that, we're going to try and get a bigger profile up, and that will involve local and county elections. So I would like to probably start by saying what we're not this is all for the guests, of course. I went to some of the hustings and I had leaflets thrust into my hand telling me that I was a fascist and a racist, and that Reform was a fascist and a racist party. Well, I can tell you now that we are not a fascist and a racist party. I'm not a fascist, I'm not a racist, no matter how you define it. I believe that everyone's an individual. So, as Nigel Farage says, we don't care what colour you are, whether you're male or female, or what you do in the bedroom. We are about trying to get common sense back into this country and returning it to how it was. Probably the rot started about 30 years ago with Tony Blair. And there's a couple of things that I will circulate about that, should we need to. What we are about, even though I said that we're all individuals, and we're not racists or fascists, and if you look at the definition of a racist, it's somebody who thinks they're superior to somebody else. So I don't think I'm superior to somebody else. You also get racists in the church and religions, and that's the same thing. They think their religion is superior to somebody else's. Well, I don't have a religion. I've got nothing against those who do have a religion, but I don't think I'm superior in any other way. And that's the line that the party takes as well. Now, you have to read between the lines if you're going to look at a party manifesto. It's not just about what they print. You have to look at the psychology of the party that you're voting for. And reading between the lines, we are considered right, whatever right wing means. But when people are voting, you've really got to look at who's going to represent you when something goes wrong in the future that we don't even know is going to happen at this present day. So, on top of not being a racist, it doesn't mean that these individuals who group together and, for example, want to blow up children at a concert with Ariana Grande, or the 6 that went to the Blue Water bombings, if these individuals want to group together, then I'm against it. And I can't see anything racist or fascist in trying to look after my own identity for my own country. So I only mention that because some of the guests will possibly be looking at what we actually stand for. And if you've got any questions, please raise your hand. Anybody? No? Okay. Right. Our membership is going up. I don't know what the membership was last meeting, because we haven't got the minutes, because we've got a lot of guests here tonight. But it's gone up, it goes up every day. We've got 662 actual helpers or supporters. We've now got 222 paid up £25 members. And this has gone up since the notes I've even taken earlier on in the week. We've got 392 people on Facebook, but we have got 6,031, I think it was, people who actually voted for us at the last election. And I was talking to Simon earlier on, in the week, and it suddenly dawned on me that we don't really have any contact with these people. That's one of the things we need to do. We need to get into contact with these 6,000 people. That might be the only way I can see doing it, is knocking on the doors of everybody and asking them, did they vote for reform in a quite nice and candid manner. And if they did, we need to record that, because we haven't got any money. We are a new party. So guests coming here tonight, I don't know what they're expecting, a proper format, a proper identity. We are a brand new party. 8 months ago, when I had the first meeting in the Sovereign Harbour Club, I didn't know anybody in the room. From then, we've moved forward. We've got 5 candidates now for local elections. We've got a deputy chairman, I've got a campaign manager, I've got a secretary. So things are moving forward. I see it as my role to work on the group, not in the group, and try and push things forward in the right direction. So at the last election, I had to do everything, write the literature, the leaflets, try and raise some money. It all went very quiet. I suddenly realised after getting leaflets together that we couldn't do anything because we didn't have any money. So at the moment, we still don't have any money. That's why I'm so keen on getting hold of the 6,000 people that did vote for us and actually saying, look, we have £1 off each one of you. If we took £1 off each one of those 6,000 people, we'd have £6,000 in the bank. I'll come on to that a little bit later. So that's my plan for what we need to do. Moving on, we do need more candidates. Now, some of the people in the room today who are guests might want to become members and candidates. There will be 2 types of candidate really for the county council elections. There will be the people who are actively involved, like the 5 we've got at the moment, and there will be, if necessary, we can't get another 4, we'll have to have some paper candidates, but we want to put a candidate on each division. Now that would mean the person doing nothing really very much, and we'll settle with that if we have to, but we are looking for more candidates. But someone else will talk about that a bit later. Headquarters update. The problem with reform, well not the problem, it's an advantage and it's a disadvantage. This is a brand new party. It was, until Nigel Farage came along 8 months ago, it really was a virtual party. So there's pros and cons to that. The cons are we don't really have a massive structure. We still, at the moment, recruiting people to do jobs and fulfill roles. But I think when I first got involved, there were about 6 people in the office. That's now growing. Now, there's a disadvantage there. A lot of things are slowing up and down the chain, which Rob will agree with. Yep. It's very difficult to try and still get salary sanction to go on the database and be approved properly. But there are advantages. When you have a party that's been around for 100 years, they get stuck in their ways, they get divisions, so you've got to turn that around, and that's a disadvantage. It's a bit like an old house. Sometimes you're better off knocking it down and starting again. Well, we don't have that disadvantage. Warren Buffett, who some of you might have heard of, won't take on companies that need to be turned around to make money. It's too difficult. We have the advantage we're starting from scratch, which is a bit like, if you like, Germany after the Second World War, Japan. Brand new machinery layers, and we're left with the old stuff. And they were very successful with that. So we call it headquarters rather than head office. Headquarters always reminds me of a sort of war situation, but I guess you could look at it as being a bit similar to a war situation. Headquarters are working on new software, a banking system. We're going to be issued with credit cards or debit cards in the future. It's all taking time to put into place, but they are doing it. Okay. I mentioned that already. As I said, we do have a raffle. Please contribute towards that. We do need to raise funds. Everything costs money. Leaflets, absolutely everything. Websites. People vote irrationally, and excuse me, I have been looking into why people vote irrationally. Why would anyone vote for the Labour Party? If you look at examples, say, of East Berlin, West Berlin, East Germany, West Germany, it's obvious that one system outperforms another system. Whether you are poor, if you're poor or disabled, in a Western capitalist system, you are better off. So why the devil would anyone irrationally vote for a system that borders on the other end of socialism, which goes towards capitalism? So I'm not going to get very political here, but why would anyone do that? It's irrational thinking, and I've been working, and I found out after many, many years why people would actually do that. But I won't mention that at this meeting, I'll mention that at the next meeting. Okay. There's a lot to say here. I'm going to skip a lot of it, to be honest. I'd like to pass over to Peter now to give us an update. Peter is, for guests, the Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Well, welcome again all. The essence of reform here in Eastbourne right now is that we want to get our voice heard in the county council to get things moving as far as Eastbourne is concerned, because we are the Cinderella part of East Sussex. Everything that happens here in Eastbourne is masked by the Eastbourne Borough Council, and we then find ourselves at the wrong end of the stick. For example, with the bus lane, because East Sussex County Council have an idea that they want to spend money, and the government money, and they're now saying that they will put it through Eastbourne, and it's the people in Eastbourne that's going to suffer, and the traders in Eastbourne that's going to suffer the consequences of East Sussex County Council not having any representation properly in the county council elections. If we want to carry on and win this seat, then we are going to have to do two really important things. We're going to have to raise money, and we're going to have to get people interested in helping. Leaflets don't get delivered by themselves. The 9 candidates don't really have the facility to walk around every single street at least 3 times. So we do need to get your help to get this working. If you know anybody that wants to help, please let us know. And if you want to help yourself in a more physical capacity, again, please let us know. Mark's alluded to the idea that we need candidates. We need to put a full slate up so that people who want to vote reform can vote reform anywhere in Eastbourne. It's very important that, because if there's a gap, then all those people that couldn't vote for reform are going to vote for somebody else that they don't really want to vote for. And we need to make sure that we give the people of Eastbourne the proper choice. hope you're all going to be buying lots of raffle tickets. If you haven't got them, it's part of our fundraising effort. It's Christmas coming up. We've got lots of goodies on the table, so I will leave it at that. But two things to remember. Candidates, if you think you can help either as a candidate or as a possible paper candidate, it's paperless actually, be honest, then please stand forward and say, yes, I can help. I will stand as a paperless candidate in one of those 4 seats if you can't find anybody else. That would be a great help to us, so please do that.
Trying to explain what paperless candidate is.
Yes.
Paperless candidate.
Yeah, which 4 is remaining?
Langley, Upperton, Old Town, and
It should be St
St Anthony's.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have to live, you only have to live within 3 kilometres, and I think everybody lives within 3 kilometres of everywhere else anyway.
What's the paperless candidate, please?
Right, paperless candidate means that you don't have your name on any literature. You just have, it's a generic vote reform in this borough, in this division. If you want to be on the leaflet, even better, but you don't have to be, and we won't expect people who are effectively paperless candidates to be going out and knocking on doors and doing things like that, because they are stepping in to fill the breach, to make sure that the people in Eastbourne have a choice. And that really is important. You must give them the choice to vote reform if they want to. Any others? So,
Yeah, mine's finally, because have you got a budget yet for how much you're actually going to need from this fundraising for the campaign?
it's about £300 per leaflet drop. And we would like to do at least 5 leaflet drops before the election, so £1,500 plus a few bits and pieces, so it's a minimum of £2,000.
Thank you.
Sorry to ask another question. We spoke in previous meetings about doing high-profile things as a group.
Yeah.
Has anything been done about that? Have we discussed that since?
Well,
I'm talking about like going out and doing litter picking or that sort of thing, being up the town or help a particular group.
not recently. We've got a technical whiz on getting the website up and running, and he's been taking all our details and getting all that up and running as well. It's just a question of finding the time to do all these things for the people, the small number of people who are actively involved. It's not that we're not thinking about it, it's just that the priority is to get the Eastbourne branch out to the people of Eastbourne. The easiest and quickest way is doing it through a website and through social media.
Going back to that, at the last meeting we didn't have a permanent address. We are moving forward. It's never as fast as we want it to be. I kick myself, but you can only do so much. A lot of us are still working. So the last meeting we didn't have a permanent address. We now have a permanent address in the middle of Eastbourne. We didn't have a website. Thanks to Dean. Actually, you should really stand up, Dean. Give a round of applause. Sit there. Not only is it being magnificent, it's a very good website. If you look at it, it's very clean. I tried to sort of work with Dean to make it a bit more punchy, not like everyone's generic website. It's got to be forceful. No, you don't want to. No one's going to sit down and read the Bible. It's got to be punchy in your face. He's done a very good job. He's streaming his service tonight. There are hundreds of people associated with us. They can't all be here tonight, but it's the first time they can actually watch us. And some people have emailed me today and now going to be watching what we're doing on YouTube. That's the first time we've had that. So things are growing, but it is slow. And we concentrated on trying to get candidates up, because that's going to give us a big profile. It's also, we talked about litter picking, and Colin, I think, was the first to mention this and these sort of things. But there's no point doing any of this if we don't get the publicity for it. It's all very well picking up the litter, but
We have to raise our profiles.
we're 100%, and anyone in this room wants to help us do that, and physically or with ideas or financially, it's obviously a big burden, we need to do that. But we are sort of flat out as much as we can be trying to raise our profile. But it isn't easy. We can't get in, we need a press officer to try and get into the press. The press are probably pretty anti-reform. When I found my campaign, they didn't want to know. So, also, I mean, I'm 60, nearly 63, but Peter's keen on pamphlets, but I'm sort of, from my own experience, I found people even in their 80s are moving away from that type of thing. They go in the bin, even 80, 83 or 5-year-olds, older people, they're online. And we've got to get ourselves on X. Did I see Sebastian earlier? Oh, hi, Sebastian. Sebastian mentioned this a while back. We need to get on Twitter, TikTok, all those sort of things. Your profile then is seen. It's a much better way of doing it, in my opinion. I've moved away from leaflets a little bit, but we still have to put leaflets out. People are still going to see that. So yes, we need to do high-profile things. If the population aren't going to see it, there's no point doing it, in my opinion. Any other questions? Hi.
Hi, a couple of meetings ago, we spoke about getting an electoral list, but we had to be registered or something.
Yes.
Money on the night. Did we get that?
Yes, we did. I think it cost, what was it, 94 quid? 92 or something.
Can you just explain again what that is?
Peter will explain that, because Peter's the expert in that department. There are two, but I'll tell you from what I know. There's what's called a marked register that'll tell you the people that have voted, but it won't tell you how they voted, because that's private. And there's the electoral roll. Now, we on a Thursday night, our head office are putting out what do you want to call it, a Zoom meeting, and they've advised us to, as well as electoral roll and the marked register, use the whole of electoral roll. We need to really find out, that would be a great thing, if we could find out 6,000 people that voted for us in Eastbourne, tap them up for £1 each, that's a start, £1 each, that's £6,000, but we really need to work on that. And Peter, Sarah are more expert in that field than I am. For the guests, I came in as a candidate for various reasons at the last election. I lived just outside Heathfield, but I came in to give the people the opportunity to vote reform at the last election. So I don't actually live in Eastbourne. And I'm going to be more concerned about trying to build the organisation and working for the next election, because the problems in the country will be solved from the top. They're not going to be solved from the bus lane that's happening in Eastbourne. Sarah, do you want to say a few things? Sorry, yeah, missed that. Peter, can you?
Me again, right. The electoral roll is maintained by the borough councils, and they have all the people that vote, they have all the people who have the postal vote. Obviously, again, we don't know who they're voting for. By using the marked registers and the postal vote and the electoral roll, we can then do a more targeted campaign. So, for example, most of the people who vote by post will have voted at least a week before the election date. So we need to make sure that we get in front of those people before they make the decisions, not after. So that really sets the strategy of our contact and communication with people before the election. So the first people we talk to are the postal voters, and then we look at the actual people that actually vote. But the non-voting party is actually the key to winning the election, both for the county, for the borough, and ultimately for the general election. Because these people, 40% minimum, are so disaffected that they don't bother to vote. And that is a big issue. If we can't get those people energised and wanting to help us, then we will not succeed.
Right. Professionally, I work with segmentation data, so consumer analysis on property data. Do we have a breakdown or access to a breakdown of where we got our 6,000 votes from? So micro neighbourhood analysis. So we do.
Yes, we
Do we
do.
have a chat about it after?
Yes. Anybody else? No. I've bored you all stiff, but
I'm going to cut a few things out, but I would like to get a youth officer. We're all aged in this room, but we do need to get the youth on board, and that's a project in itself. 14-year-olds today will be voting in the next election. They're quite keen on Nigel Farage. That's going to make a big difference. I don't know if there's anyone in the room who can help with this. I'm not saying I do everything, but I can't do everything you need. I'm trying to get an individual put in place to do every little job that we need to do. So if you need anybody, if you know anybody who would like to sort of take up that role, I've got a lot of good ideas for that. But that is, in my opinion, one of the other ways forward. And traditionally that's a trick that's been missed because you haven't been really interested in voting. Sarah?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I think it would be a really good idea for everybody that is a current candidate to actually stand up and introduce themselves. I know it's going to be a bit embarrassing because I didn't mention this before the meeting. And it would be good to start with Mark at the back who's actually shaking his head. Just to stand up and actually explain which division you're actually putting yourself forward for, and maybe just a couple of minutes of saying why you wanted to stand for a candidate for the 25 elections.
Yeah, I'm standing for Devonshire. I'm Mark. I've been more and more disaffected, and one of the people that's kind of thinking about giving up voting. I thought, you know what, we need to make a stand. I say hello. I've got a little bit. I spent half of my adult life working for charity, and now I'm working as an archaeologist. So I'm very into protecting heritage and construction work and this kind of thing. So I'm thinking I could possibly be useful on the council in some kind of role to do with that, possibly. Yeah. Any questions?
Anybody here from the Devonshire ward this evening, or who might know they're in the Devonshire ward? Here we go. So we've got.
I should mention I've lived in Devonshire for over 20 years.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm connected. I can see the problems that we have there, and I really want to try to come up with solutions. So I don't think any of the council members that have been doing things have really been going the right way about things. So, sorry, any questions?
So everybody, Smart Leary, representing Devonshire in the 2025 elections, is one of 5 candidates that are here tonight. So, Pete, did you want to go next? Do you want to introduce you? You've done enough talking. We'll start with Dean Chalk.
Yes, me again. Yes, so my name's Dean Chalk, and I'm living in Meads. I don't know if anybody else is here from the Meads division. Been living here about 4 years, and I've always voted Conservative, but I can't vote for them anymore, and I didn't at the last election. I'm a great believer. I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life. I'm a great believer in giving our children and our children's children an opportunity to really make something of their lives in this beautiful country. And we can't do that under the current regime, and we're unlikely to ever do that unless things really do change fundamentally. I think the existing parties are dead. I think there needs to be change, there needs to be new blood in this political system. And I'm going to do everything I can to help Mark to achieve that in our little area of Eastbourne, particularly Meads. So if you live in Meads, you'll see me out there trying to talk to people and hopefully get some more interest from everyone. But we'll see how it goes. I've never done this before, so I'm going to give it my best shot.
This is Chris Anderson, who's representing.
Yeah, I'm representing Sovereign Harbour. So back in 2022, I stood as an MP candidate for David Amos was sadly murdered. I didn't do it in poor taste or anything like that. I wanted freedom of license. I wanted to have a conversation with people on the street about, how this is a problem of the major parties. That David Amos was killed by having murdered in cold blood, and on my daughter is actually passing well. I don't care where anyone's from. I was
Chris, hold the microphone a bit closer.
a bit closer there. I was a member of the Afro-Caribbean Society University, and I was a publicity officer for Sri Lankan Society. That's what I'm like, but I do believe that much like a house, when you knock on a house, and you knock on the door, and you say, I would like to come in, and you respect the custom or the wishes of the people in the house. You don't burst in through the back door and say, this is my house, live by my rules. It's much like why we don't allow burglary, breaking into it. So, and I really was really touched by the fact that Nigel Farage mentioned the World Economic Forum, because we just fed up with these globalist institutions with blatant communism for wicked people, but corporate fascism, interestingly, at top, which are both left-wing flavours, right? We know that fascism really was Gentile, who actually coined that fascism, and he was a leftist, and Mussolini was on quite good terms with Lenin. So I think it's really important for the future of our children that we really bring it home and get back to natural law and rights of the individual, the rights of man, Thomas Paine, who inspired the Bill of Rights, right, in America. And that's why we have that connection with Trump and Elon Musk, because we see eye to eye on that issue. Okay. Yeah.
And now we have David Abbott, and David's going to introduce himself.
I'm David Alfred, I'm standing for
David
Rashford.
Alfred, sorry.
Why I'm standing, because I want to get rid of Keir Starmer, apart from voting for reform, that's the next best thing I can do. I believe the country's going downhill. As Dean said, there's no future for our children. And I believe that we've got a communist government. They're trying to get rid of the middle classes. And you do that by inflation and taxation. That's what's happening. We've got a very clever man in Keir Starmer. We've got to get rid of him. I also stood as a candidate for UKIP. I got 924 votes. And this time I'm going to get more.
Hi there, I'm standing for the Hampton Park Board, mainly because I look at the way that councils, both the Eastbourne Borough Council and the County Council, and it seems to me that these are organisations that are run by the organisation for the benefit of the organisation at the expense of us. I went to a council meeting, in fact, on Tuesday last week, and one of the officers there said, well, I'm not sure, because that would mean our staff members having to do such and such. And I had to point out that actually they are paid to do such and such for the electorate. That's why they're here. So the fact that they have to do something is not a part of them actually doing it. So it's the way that we are not looked after as people who live here. It's the way that the expenditure is not properly controlled. There is no proper audit in Eastbourne Borough Council. In the County Council, we are not represented at all, because when you have party politics in that sense, the people in the county follow the rules of the borough, and the borough follow the rules of the party. And that means that the people who elect them come at the bottom of the pile, and that's what I want to make a difference. I want to make sure that these people, the people I represent, are truly represented.
Thank you, Peter. The way I see it, there's two ways to achieve what we want. There's a negative way and there's a positive way. You've got to do both. We've got to enhance what we do and what we plan to do, but it also, it's basically war. You've got an enemy. The councils are across the world, let alone England, all run very badly. They all seem to not care how much of other people's money they spend. It's other people's money, and they don't seem to have a relationship between money and life. Well, that's the sign for our break. So you can buy a raffle ticket and use the restroom. But basically, if you want to build a bus lane in Eastbourne, imagine going and saying, okay, then we're going to raise funds. We're going to knock on everyone's door in Eastbourne and try and get the money off the people. See how far you'd get. See how much money you'd get from the people by knocking on the doors for this bus lane. They put into place across the country, across government, things that people don't want because it's run away of itself. It needs a big clean out, basically. I think Trump used the word draining the swamp, but that's what's happening. Now, Mike is expert. He knows what these people are up to. He's an authority, basically, as far as I'm concerned, on the bad things the councils do. And it's very easy. They all do it, but they've got to get held to account. How do we hold them to account? That needs the people out there to get to know about it. Unfortunately, that requires money and time and exposure in the media press, which is very difficult to get into. So we've got two-fronted approach. One is attack and let the people, what you've got to do is let the people know what the council are doing and how much money they're wasting. And on the positive side, promote what we would do differently. Okay, well that's the rest break side. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to have a formal business meeting tonight because the guests have been here, so we're not going to circulate the minutes. The raffle's almost ready. Rob Sims is the area manager for West Sussex, isn't it? East, sorry. I'm thinking it's East Sussex. It is East Sussex. Sorry. It's going to say a few words, and then we're going to have a raffle, and then probably that's the end of the meeting. We can have a drink in the bar, unless anyone else has got any questions or wants to add anything. If anybody who's a member wants to put any questions to put on the agenda for the next meeting, then email in. Are there any questions in the room? Guests, particularly.
I'd just like to say briefly that I run a little organisation, and it's tiny, called Eastbourne Council Watch, and we try to hold the council to account. We could do with a lot more people asking questions, making speeches in council, just coming to council meetings to actually make them realise that people are interested in what they are doing, because we know that they're, a bit nefarious. And it would just be great if people sometimes came to council meetings, even if it's only for an hour, you can leave, if you get too bored, because some of them are very boring. But I think the council thinks that they can get away with anything. And we're trying to show them that they can't, but it would be good to have more support.
Have you got a website on your organisation?
But you can use, we've got YouTube.
Okay.
Eastbourne Council Watch. We put up the meetings and our speeches and questions and stuff. And then we put up the bits where the councillors can't actually answer the questions and they look a bit stupid.
Definitely going to watch that. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The last meeting a month ago, we had a professor. Do you know the guy? Yeah, he's sat over here. Are you in touch with him?
Yeah.
Who is? Could you come forward afterwards, or could you meet afterwards and put each other in touch, because that's exactly what he does.
Okay.
And he's been speaking a long time, and he sounded like he knew what he was talking about, and he was also very enthusiastic about it. And that's the thing about, sorry to be political, but that's the thing about socialism. What is the definition of socialism? My definition, my favourite one is you take other people's money that's been lawfully earned and you give it to complete strangers. Now, that's not too bad if you're disabled, etc., and I agree with that to a certain extent. So it probably makes me a socialist. But it's how much you do it. And we don't have any regard for other people's money, that's the problem. I remember years ago, I won't go mention where I was Brighton Polytechnic, they were trying to get rid of some minibuses. They had minibuses sitting around doing nothing. And they wanted to reduce it by one. And the person who drove the minibus says, I don't understand why they want to do this. It's not as if it's real money. That's what he said. I will never forget that. 40 years ago. It's not as if it's real money. Well, it is. Because that money could be in your pocket, that money could be in a hospital, that money could be helping the police force or whatever you want to do. That's the issue. Okay, we have another bit of good news. We have Colin Akers, who has decided that he's going to stand tonight and be a paperless candidate. So we only need 3 more candidates. We've got a full house. So we are moving forward. And on that note, Rob, you're going to say a few words. Sorry. From whatever part of Sussex you come from, I know where Rob comes from. Hey, Rob.
Well, thank you very much. I don't normally do speeches, but I thought, as an East Sussex organiser, I'll say a few words. Out of the whole of East Sussex, I would say probably Eastbourne's the best in the way of developed at the moment. So well done to the branch members, and also to the chairs, vice chair, and secretary and campaign manager. So yeah, very well done indeed. And I got into this game probably about 2 years ago, where I realised things were going very badly wrong in this country. And I stood for the Wilden Town Council as a candidate. Did very well and actually upset the Conservative candidate quite badly, where he said, well, I didn't get in because of you. I thought, well, you didn't do your job properly, did you? So then I took the path of basically becoming East Sussex organiser and starting to grow the branches within East Sussex, which is no small feat, if I'm honest. Brighton Homes has come back online now, so we're starting to grow that, along with Hastings, Bexhill and Battle. Wilden and Lewis will be coming up next. So gradually, bit by bit, we're getting there. But like anything, Rome wasn't built in a day. But you guys, members and everything else supporting the branch, will start gradually growing and get rid of the rubbish we have in power at the moment. So thank you very much indeed, and good to see you all tonight. Thank you.
So I think it was Maggie Thatcher that said socialism was a lovely thing. I'm not. I'm a socialist. I just told you. If it goes to that true definition of it, but it goes wrong when you run out of other people's money. And I think we've run out of other people's money. And I think Starmer's going to get it. It's going to be very difficult for him. And I think at the next election, it's going to show through. And I think we've got a massive chance of, even before we go, I'm not trying to be overly optimistic, but we really have. Something's going to happen over the next 4 years, and there's going to be some big changes. So I'm going to ask Colin to draw the first ticket, as he's the man of the day, man of the evening. You can? Why not?
Okay. Oh no. 292 on the red.
292.
Oh, it is more.
There's a massive bucket here. I'm sure
they're all 292.
Who's going to distribute Sorry, Sarah, the prizes, or do you want to just come over to the table? Well done, thank you, Simon. You deserve it. Okay, well, has anyone got any questions about anything? We've had interest from the room, people want to join us in the future. Any questions from any? Oh, carry on.
The gentleman that's just volunteered to be a
Paperless candidate.
Whose fault is that?
Old Town.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're looking for proper candidates, but we will take, we will have to stand at every division. So,
Let's go.
unless there's any other questions, I think we'll.
You made £153.
Oh, well done. We've made £153 on the raffle. Is that gross or net profit? Gross, and it's cost us £200 for the prize. We should get a job working for the council in the accounting department. Okay, anything else? So we're, head office are actually issuing cards, they're doing this for buttons, aren't they? It's all going to be done under the control of the electoral commission. Anything in the room? Well, the next meeting would have been the first Wednesday of January, but that's New Year's Day. So I've got to speak to the management here and try and put that back a week to the following Wednesday. So I haven't confirmed that yet because I've got to speak to them and have something else on, I don't know. So, oh, yeah.
I'm just going to say, I'm sure a lot of the people in the room agree with me that it's a shame that we can't get Starmer out. Because he's doing that our country, honestly. It's bordering on communist. Sorry, I shouldn't be talking like this.
Free speech.
I'm very upset. I'm sure most people in this room think the same.
They are. I think free speech should be for everything. It should be free speech. When I was a kid, I was told sticks and stones will break your bones and names will never hurt you. Now you can call someone anyone you want, and you should have free speech. If they punch you in the nose because of it, that's your own fault. But that's how it should be. That's my opinion.
That's where the
Sorry, I saw people saying things. Want to say something over there?
People being arrested for expressing their opinion.
Well, how ridiculous is that? The police will avoid shoplifters making wine out of a shop for £250, but they will go around and arrest somebody who's upset somebody by tweeting something or even retweeting something. It's all ridiculous. Anyone else want to say something? Open mic. Louise. Has he gone out yet? We don't know. Oh, it has? Well, the French are in big trouble. Stop.
Sorry, I'm talking about the French.
Well, the French have been in big trouble for a long time. They're a socialist country and they're spending more money than they're getting in. Everyone knows it. And it's the big elephant in the room. And it's going to come to a head. You can keep the can down the road so far, then it has to come to the end of the road. You're going to say something, sir?
Where are we with electoral reform?
Miles down the road. If we win the next election, then we won't want it, will we?
Well, it was a big subject a few months ago, and it seems to have just fizzled out. Well, they got a vote to go through with it on private members of the bill. They got the second. The last I heard was that the Lib Dem put the private members bill in, and it's gone to the second reading by 2 votes.
Yes.
So proportional representation may come in, but don't forget that the British people roundly killed the previous attempt at proportional representation. So it would have to be something that the people of this country would put up with.
So the thing is, there was an election this year, and the people of this country were given the opportunity to vote, and through the back door, Starmer's got in. And so that's what you need to remind them of when you're on the doorstep or at the next election or county. This is what we can't afford. It's no problem saying to somebody who's never voted before, vote. The first thing you will say to them is, register to vote. Then you've got to get to vote. They have a choice. It's a democracy, and that's what's happened, and that's the result of what's happened. So that's what you've got to get across. People are going to have to pay the price for it, basically, because they didn't vote reformers, in my opinion. Any other questions?
Starmer got 20% of the vote.
Starmer got 20% of the vote. Okay. But under our system, he's now got 170 seat majority.
Oh, yes, right, yes, I'm saying, yeah.
And also, at the last election, if you look at the stats on it, Reform came pretty close. It came third in a lot of places, but very, very close. Some of these second and third places were very close.
We got more votes than the Liberal Democrats.
More votes than the Dems. We need ideas. If you want me to jump off, fall off a freaking board in the sea, or jump off a freaking crane, or something like that, I'm quite happy to do that. But it works, apparently. This sort of thing works with the general public. You know, if you, I've said this before, if you were going to fly a plane across the Atlantic, you want someone who's trained and knew what he was doing. When it comes to politics, they've got to be popular and have a big smile. And that's the problem with it all. Any other questions or anything that anyone else wants to add?
I watched TV News. I don't know if a lot of the people here. One of the presenters, which is Patrick Christie, he was all for the old people not having their winter fuel. He even did a sponsored in the cold lake and got a thing up on his programme, and he got a lot of money, didn't he?
Yeah.
From it, he charged a mileage for it to try and, you know, but they won't budge.
On the winter
On the winter fuel, he was on
£5 million illegals in
Yeah.
But they're getting it, but we're not.
No, it's a petition.
Oh, sorry.
There's a petition that maybe sort of, you know,
Yeah.
older people that are not got access maybe to emails and
That's
stuff like that,
right.
but they're not aware of all these
No,
petitions.
that's the trouble. It's a petition to want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much online.
That's right.
The problem is he's got a 170 seat majority. He's doing what he wants, basically. Now, the thing about on the doorstep, if you're going to speak to people, and I don't understand why it hasn't been mentioned, you're not, when people are voting, they're not voting for they're voting for a psychology. We don't know what's around the corner. Anything can happen in the next month, year. It's a psyche. You've got to get that across. The manifestos don't really mean anything. I don't know any party that's ever stuck to a manifesto. They're not legally binding. So you've got to get it across. You're voting for people you think are going to look after the country's interests. Whatever happens or whatever crops up, it's a psyche that people are voting for.
Yeah, but Starmer never answered any of the questions, did he? You avoided them the whole way through, so you should be know what you were voting for.
In snooker it's called playing safe. He knew he had the statistics were showing that he was going to get in, and all he could do by opening his mouth was to mess it up. So he kept his mouth.
Mark, you had a simple slogan and everyone voted for it. It's change.
Thank you for reminding me.
Just so you remember, that's what they voted for, change.
Thank you for reminding me. We are looking for a slogan. Anyone can come up with a slogan and we will probably vote on it. Mike has got
I've
some.
got two to put forward. You can reject them, it's your choice. I don't care what the two things are.
Well, we'll mention
The
them.
two I've got, I'll give you now.
Yeah.
The first one is positive, and it's mega. Make Eastbourne great again.
Oh,
And that chimes with Reform UK, let's make Britain great, make Eastbourne great again. And we'll grab the notice of all the press, they will get agitated, and people will get agitated by it, and it will give us publicity. The second one is a bit more negative, it's not as positive. It's called Broken Born Needs Reform. Right? That will really get the backs up at the Born Free newspaper, because they're the rag of the Lib Dems, and everything in it is promoting the Lib Dems and their policies. They won't say a word against the sovereign centre closure reports, and they just come to it just a week ago now. Peter Lindsay, who's their editor, and he's now trying to say, save the fund pool. Come on, Stephen Hole, leader of our council, save the fund pool as a Christmas present. They didn't want to know last summer, they weren't interested. The same with the toilets, they weren't interested. And now they're banging the drum saying, isn't Stephen Hole kind because he saved 3 toilets on the seafront? Holywell, Pier and Bandstand. The Bandstand were never closing, they were never in scope. We're being conned. If you can't see that, you're fools.
Right, a couple of things I'd like to say to that. But first, Andrew, you want to say something? Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I have a slogan which is "Let's reform Eastbourne," because it's got reform Eastbourne. It's short, it's snappy, it's really memorable, and it doesn't tap into anything that's illusion.
Right, let me have a say. Look, okay, now we will discuss this at a later date. And this is an issue for the members to vote on, really, because it's a democracy, as far as I'm concerned. I would just say 2 things. I'll have 2 things and I'm going to then end the meeting. The first is, when I first heard Mike's ideas, I didn't like them, but now I do. And
with respect, a lot of people don't like Nigel Farage.
I agree. All right, Mike. And the thing is, Mike says we're following Trump, and he's probably right. We always follow the United States, but the British people are very more reserved than the people in the United States. So we need to think about this. Anyone can come up with a slogan. Mike's come up with a couple, thank you. But we do need to think about it, sleep on it, and then have a vote on it. And then a hand on. Well, we're talking about one for Eastbourne. The reason we're talking about Eastbourne is because we've got the county council elections coming up, and we need to concentrate on that. The whole idea, as far as I'm concerned, about council local elections are to give us a big presence. We don't have a big presence, and we need to get our logo out there and become familiar with the people. No one's going to go in a voting box and vote for someone they've never heard of before or know much about. So it's all about creating a presence. Anything else? Anyone else? I think we should end the meeting. Thank you all for coming, especially the guests. I hope your expectations. Thank you.